It's music theory. Online, let's learn some theory. Online, by watching modules. Online, with music theory. Online.
We'll begin this module with a review of simple time. After we review simple time, we'll continue on to compound time. Our study of time wouldn't be complete without reviewing and learning about dotted notes, about rests in simple and compound time, and about duplets and triplets. We're just going to take a moment here and review time signatures. As you are very aware, all of your music has time signatures. The time signature is always written at the beginning of the score. The time signature is about numbers. The top number, which takes the top two spaces, tells you how many beats there are in each measure. The bottom number, which takes the bottom two spaces, tells you which type of note gets one beat. It's very important to remember that time signatures are not fractions. You never draw a line between the top number and the bottom number because they're not fractions. The time signature is always written after the clef and after the key signature. An easy way to remember is that K comes before T in the alphabet, which means that the key signature comes before the time signature. Common time is represented by the letter C, and it means 4/4. Cut time is the same as 2/2 and looks like a C with a line through it. Beats have strong and weak pulses and divide time into units of equal lengths. These pulses are grouped together into measures. These divisions are called measures or bars. A bar line is how we divide our bars and measures. However fast or slow we play is going to give us the tempo. In beginning theory, we covered simple time. Remember that in simple time, the top number is either a 2, which is duple, a 3, which is triple, or a 4, which is quadruple. In duple time, we have a strong beat and then a weak beat, and it sounds like this: 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. In triple time, we have strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak in each measure. In quadruple time, we have strong, weak, medium, weak, strong, weak, medium, weak in each measure. Here we have our time signatures for simple time. We can have simple duple, which would be 2/2, 2/4, or 2/8. In 2/2, we have 2 beats in a measure and a half note would get 1 beat. In 2/4, there are 2 beats in a measure and a quarter note would get 1 beat. In 2/8, there's 2 beats in a measure and an eighth note would get 1 beat. In simple triple time, we could have 3/2, 3/4, or 3/8. Just like in simple duple time, the bottom number always tells us what type of note gets 1 beat. In 3/2, a half note gets 1 beat. In 3/4, a quarter note gets 1 beat. And in 3/8, an eighth note gets 1 beat. In simple quadruple time, we always have a 4 at the top and, like simple triple and simple duple time, the bottom number gives us the type of note that gets 1 beat. Simple. Compound time is quite different. The top number of the time signature tells you how many pulses are in each measure. The bottom number tells you what type of pulse gets 1 beat. The pulses are then grouped together to form a dotted note. This note becomes the unit beat. Another way of looking at it is that the 3 pulses can be grouped together into a dotted note. That dotted note gives us the unit beat. In compound time, the unit beat is always dotted. In simple time, the unit beat is always a non-dotted note, and in compound time, the unit beat is always a dotted note. I know it's a little confusing. Let me try and explain this a little better. In simple time, the top number is telling us how many beats are in each measure. That's the unit beat. In compound time, the top number tells us how many pulses are in each measure, and the unit beat is a grouping of the 3 pulses. The pulses are further grouped together to form a dotted note, and the dotted note is the unit beat. Does this seem confusing? It can be. However, when you understand it, you will really get it. Do you remember in simple duple time we had 2 beats, strong, weak, which was 1, 2, 1, 2. In compound duple time, we have 2 unit beats as well that are strong, weak. However, these unit beats are dotted notes. In simple duple time, the top number is 2, and in compound duple time, the top number is always 6. What that means is we always have 6 pulses in each measure in compound time. The 6 pulses are then grouped together to form 2 dotted notes, which gives us our unit beat. Like simple time, we have 2 unit beats. In simple triple time, we had strong, weak, strong, weak, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. In compound time, we still have 3 unit beats and 9 pulses. However, the 9 pulses are then grouped together to make 3 beats. In simple quadruple time, we have 4 beats in a measure. In compound quadruple time, we still have 4 unit beats, and we also have 12 pulses per measure. Each unit beat must be a dotted note. In simple quadruple time, we have 4 beats in a measure. In compound quadruple time, we have 4 unit beats and 12 pulses per measure. Each unit beat must be a dotted note. In simple quadruple time, the top number of the time signature is 4, and in simple quadruple time, the top number is 12. So we have 12 pulses per measure, which are then grouped into 4 beats. Let's review how our compound and simple time signatures are written. In simple time, the top number always tells us how many beats are in each measure. In compound time, it's telling us the number of pulses in each measure. We must always be aware that our unit beat is by grouping our pulses in 3 when we're in compound time. When you do this, you'll discover that whether you're in simple or compound time, you'll always have the same number of beats in each measure. In simple time, the bottom number is telling you what kind of note gets 1 beat. In compound time, the bottom note is telling you what type of note receives 1 beat. What's the difference between simple and compound time? How we arrived at the unit beat. In this slide, you see a sample of simple quadruple, 4/4 time. The unit beat is a quarter note, and we have 4 quarter notes in each measure. We have 4 beats in the measure, with the quarter note getting 1 beat. In compound time, we have 12 pulses in each measure, and an 8th note is 1 pulse. When we group our notes together, we discover that we have 4 beats, and each beat is a dotted quarter note. Here's the difference in the sounds. It's always interesting to compare 3/4 and 6/8 because you'll hear the difference in these 2 time signatures. In 3/4 we have 3 unit beats, whereas in compound time we only have 2 beats. However, each beat has 3 pulses. Listen to the difference between 3/4 and 6/8. Here are some more examples of compound time signatures. This first example is in 6/8 time, and it's called compound duple. I'm going to circle the groups of 3s so you can see how it all fits together. Our first 3 eighth notes group together and gives us our first unit beat. Then the next group of 3 eighth notes group together give us our second unit beat. Here, I'll circle the second measure. For the third measure, do you see how we have 2 eighth notes and then an eighth rest? That still gives us our group of 3. I'll finish this so you can see how they all are grouped in 3. Here's what it sounds like. Nine eight is compound triple time. Let's group together our 9/8 measure. Our first group, we have an eighth note, 2 16th notes, and an eighth note. That gives us our first unit beat. Our second unit beat is the same grouping of notes as well as the third unit beat. In the second measure, we have our first unit beat, then our second unit beat, then the dotted quarter note makes the third unit beat. In the third measure, we need to group together the quarter note into 16th notes for 1 unit beat. The eighth note and the 2 eighth rests is our second unit beat, and the quarter note and the eighth note is our third unit beat. I'm going to play this for you. However, I'm not going to observe all the tied notes because I want you to be able to hear how the unit beats fit together. I think you'll hear how 9/8 works much better if you hear all the notes. I'm sure you've all seen and played triplets in your music. A triplet is simply 3 notes that you're playing in the time of 2. We only see triplets in simple time. Let me play for you the first example in 4/4 time. Did you hear how the triplet eighth notes were played as 2 eighth notes? Here's the second example. In this example, you heard the quarter note, which gets 1 beat, 2 eighth notes, which get 1 beat, and 3 eighth notes, which get 1 beat, then 4 16th notes, which also get 1 beat. Again, remember, you only see triplets in simple time. We were just looking at triplets, which meant playing 3 notes in the time of 2. We also have duplets, which means that you're playing 2 notes in the time of 3. While you only find triplets in simple time, duplets are only found in compound time. In the first example, you see we have 2 duplets. Here we're playing 2 eighth notes in the time of 3. Let's see if we can figure out what the time signatures would be for these 3 lines of music. As soon as we see triplets in that first line, we know it's going to be in simple time. Let's see if we can figure out what the time signature would be. What I'm going to do is circle the groups of notes to help us find the correct key signature. We have an eighth note and 3 16th notes, so that gives us 1 quarter note. The next group of notes in this measure give us our second beat. If we combine all those notes, we would have a quarter note. In the third measure, the first triplet 16th notes and the 2 16th notes equal a quarter note. Then we have 2 eighth notes, and now the last measure has a half note which is equal to 2 quarter notes. When we look at this first line, it's definitely in 2/4 time. The second line has duplets. That means that we know it's going to be in compound time. In the first measure, we have an eighth note, 2 16th notes, and an eighth note. The way they're grouped together, I would say that that would be 1 unit beat. The 2 eighth notes that are duplets would equal 3 eighth notes. Let's move on to the next measure. We have a dotted quarter note, which is 1 unit beat, I think. We'll have to make sure. And then in our next unit beat, we have an eighth note and 4 16th notes. Our 2 duplet eighth notes equal 3 eighth notes, so we'll circle that. The two duplets equal 3, we'll circle that, and then we have a dotted half note at the end. This is definitely in 6/8 time. Let's look at the last line together. Again, we have duplets, so we know it's going to be in compound time. We have a dotted eighth note by itself, then we have a duplet of 16th notes, so that can be our unit beat. Then our second unit beat would be the duplet 16th notes. The next unit beat would be the 3/16th notes. So in this measure we have 4 unit beats. In our next measure we have a dotted quarter note. I have a feeling that that dotted quarter note is going to be 2 unit beats. The 16th note and the 8th note will be another unit beat, as well as the other 16th note and 8th note. So again, we have 4 unit beats in the second measure. Our last measure, we have 1 unit beat with the 8th note and 16th note. Then the 16th note and 8th note make a second unit beat. The dotted 8th note is our third unit beat, and the dotted 8th note at the end is our 4th unit beat. This time signature would be 12/16. I've added stem directions and beams in this module because this is something that you already know, and it's important and simple for us to review. While the third line rule still applies, the stem direction is determined by the note in the group that's furthest away from the third line. That's going to determine the direction of those stems. In our first group of eighth notes, the first eighth note is G, and the one that's furthest away from the middle. Following our stem rules, it means that all of those eighth notes will have their stems going up. In the second group of eighth notes, the D below the third line is the one that's furthest away, so all the stems will go up. In the next measure, the E is the note that's furthest away from the middle line, so all those stems will go down. In the next group, F is the furthest away, so all of those stems will go up. In the third measure, the second note, which is A, is furthest away, so all stems will go down. That also applies to the second group. In the last measure, the eighth notes could go either way because there's one note above the middle line and one note below the middle line. So drawing the stems up or down would be fine. In the last group, the E is the furthest away from the middle line, so all the stems will go down. Be careful when you're drawing your stems because you may find that sometimes, if there's a big leap, your stem will be more than an octave in length. You can see that here in the third measure, that's what's happened. Make sure when you're drawing your beams for the 16th notes that both of the beams are parallel to each other. Remember as well that you can beam 16th notes and 8th notes together. Remember, a dotted note is going to increase the length of the given note by half of its original value. In 4/4 time, the dot after the quarter note would be equal to an eighth note, which is half of the value of the quarter note. In the second measure, we have a dotted 16th note. If we divide the 16th note in half, we have 2 32nd notes. Therefore, the dotted 16th note is equal to a 16th note plus a 32nd note. When you're using dots in simple time, you must complete each partial beat before starting the next one. You should still be able to draw beat bubbles so you can see each individual beat as much as possible. In our first example, we begin with a dotted quarter note. You must complete that second beat with a note before you move on to the third beat. In the second measure, we have a dotted 16th note which must be completed with the 32nd note. In compound time, you must complete each pulse. I hope you feel comfortable with dotted notes because now we're going to talk about double dotted notes. Remember, a dot after a note increases the length of that note by half of its original value. A double dot increases the length of the note by half of the value of the given note plus half the value of the first dot. If you have a double dotted quarter note, it's equal to a quarter note plus an eighth note plus a 16th note. You would definitely need to complete that second beat by writing a 16th note. In our example at the bottom of the slide, we have both a dotted note and a double dotted note. When you're working with rests in compound time, you must complete each pulse before moving on to the next pulse. All pulses must also be clearly grouped together to show the unit beat. In our first example, the unit beats are clearly marked. We have 2 unit beats, each unit beat being a dotted quarter note. In the second measure, you can see each unit beat. You can really write either way, however my preference is the first measure with the dotted quarter rest. In the third measure, you see each pulse with the eighth note, eighth rest, and eighth rest. These 3 together give us our unit beat of a dotted quarter note. In the second part of this measure, we have a dotted quarter rest, which gives us our second unit beat. The last measure shows us the quarter rest followed by the eighth rest. Again, either the dotted quarter rest or the quarter rest and eighth rest are acceptable. However, my preference is to use the dotted quarter rest because it's more consistent with compound time grouping. Let's look at some more examples. In example 1, you must use 2 eighth rests because you can never join the second and third beats or pulses together. And in compound time, those second and third pulses happen within each unit beat. In example 2, everything works perfectly here. Again, my preference would be for you to draw a dotted quarter rest for the second unit beat in both example 1 and in example 2. The third example is also correct. You can use a quarter rest to join the first and the second pulses or beats together. And of course you can use a dotted quarter rest instead of the quarter and eighth rest. Always remember that a whole measure rest is a whole measure rest is a whole measure rest. Let's look at these examples and see if all of these rests make sense to you. The first line is already done for us, but let's just go over it together. We're in 6/8 time, so we need to be able to see our 2 unit beats. Our quarter note and eighth rest give us our first unit beat, and our pulse is 1, 2, 3. Our second unit beat is made up with the dotted eighth note, the 16th rest, and the eighth rest. That gives us our second unit beat and our pulses of 4, 5, and 6. In the second measure, our unit beats are circled. Our first pulse is the eighth note, and our second and third pulses are the eighth rests. Remember, we can't join the second and third pulses together, so in this example we must draw individual eighth rests. Our second unit beat is the same as the second unit beat in our first measure. In the third measure, we have a dotted quarter rest, which gives us our first unit beat in our first 3 pulses, followed by a quarter rest, which gives us our fourth and fifth pulses, and an eighth note, which gives us our 6th pulse. In the last measure, we have an eighth note, and we must have 2 eighth rests because we cannot join the second and third pulses together. Our line ends with the dotted quarter rest, which gives us a complete measure. Let's group together the second example. In 9/8 time, we're going to need 3 unit beats, with each unit beat equaling a dotted quarter note, and 9 pulses, with each pulse being an eighth note. The first dotted eighth note gives us our first pulse and a half, so we'll have to join that with the 16th rest to give us our second pulse, and then we have another eighth rest for our third pulse. That gives us our first unit beat in 9/8 time. The dotted quarter rest gives us our fourth, fifth, and sixth pulse, and the second dotted quarter rest gives us our 7th, 8th, and 9th pulse. In the second measure, the 8th rest, the 8th note, and the 8th rest give us our first unit beat. The quarter rest and the 8th note give us our second unit beat, and the dotted quarter note gives us our third unit beat. In the last measure, the quarter note and the 8th rest give us our first unit beat. The 8th note and the 2 8th rests give us our second unit beat, and the quarter note and the 8th rest give us our third unit beat. In the second unit beat, we have to use 2 8th rests here because we cannot join the second and third beats together. Let's just go over what we've covered in this module. Simple time signatures have a 2, a 3, or a 4 on the top. Compound time signatures have a 6, a 9, or a 12 on the top, and each has a unit beat which is divisible into 3 notes of equal value. In simple time, the unit beat is an undotted note. In compound time, the unit beat is a dotted note. Triplets are 3 notes that are played in the time of 2 notes and are only found in simple time. Duplets are 2 notes that are played in the time of 3 and are only found in compound time. While the third line rule still applies, the stem direction is determined by the note in the group that's furthest away from the third line. Remember, when using dots in simple time, complete each partial beat before starting the next one. In compound time, you complete each pulse before moving on. When there are 2 dots after a note, the first dot is going to add half of the value of the given note, and the second dot will add half of the value of the first dot. Remember that each pulse must be finished off before moving on to the next pulse, and your pulses must be clearly shown by being grouped together. This is an extremely important module, and a module you may need to watch more than once. As I said before, there's a lot of material in this module. I'm sure you'll have questions for me at Theory Club this week. I look forward to receiving your assignments and seeing you at Theory Club. Remember, I'm here to help you every step of the way. I hope you have a super duper week. Bye now.
It's music theory. Online, let's learn some theory. Online, by watching modules. Online, with music theory. Online.